Hello, Wellspring. It is May the 20th, and we are reading from Job. Today we're in Job chapter 39. Yesterday we were hearing from God. We were hearing God speak to Job and basically saying to Job, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" And in chapter 39, we're going to continue to hear more from God in this space where he's basically challenging Job and saying, where is human wisdom as compared to my wisdom? Where is human thinking or understanding as compared to my understanding? And where are the concerns of humanity for all of these other things that I'm also taking care of, that I have all in my hands, that I have under my control? And so we're going to kind of continue to hear the same vein from the Lord here in Job 39 that we heard in Job 38. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this continues to go on and on. It's kind of an Eastern way of teaching. In the West, we might just say, God's ways are beyond our ways, and that's kind of the end of the conversation, right? But this Eastern form of teaching really, it draws out and makes the point over and over and over again because it adds weight. It's as if you're standing underneath this platform, right? And God is saying to you, here's what I want you to learn. And it's one brick. And in the West, we might go, oh, okay, I understand that one brick. God's ways are beyond my ways. It's a little heavier. But then in this Eastern way of teaching, it's like another brick and another brick and another brick and another brick and another brick. And the weight is slowly becoming too much, too much, too much, too much, too much. And then bricks just keep coming. It just keeps getting poured on. And it helps us not just to intellectually ascend to this place of God's ways are beyond our ways, but it helps you to experience that God's ways are beyond our ways. It teaches Job to experience this knowledge so that it's not just a head knowledge, but that it becomes a heart knowledge. And that's so much of the Christian journey, is actually how do we transfer the things that we're learning from the Word of God? How do we take these concepts, these ideas, and move it from just head knowledge to heart knowledge, where we know it deep inside, where we know who we are, where we know who God is, where we really experience God, because God is a relational God. He's not just some academic who's teaching us all these things about himself. No, it's one thing to know a lot about God. It's a very different thing to know who God is and to experience God. And so in this Eastern way of teaching, God is going to continue to put the bricks on for Job, in a sense, to just keep stacking this weight, stacking this weight, stacking this weight, so that Job doesn't just intellectually ascend to God has this under control, God's understanding is beyond mine, but instead Job experiences God's understanding. Job experiences God's control. Job experiences God's wisdom. And it moves deeper and deeper and deeper in as these bricks continue to, in a sense, lay on. These metaphorical bricks get heavier and heavier and heavier, and he can't bear the weight of it, which then creates an experience for Job so that he knows both in his mind and his heart and in his soul what God is really communicating to him. So with that in mind, let's allow the Lord to continue to stack some bricks on us so that we remember his ways and thoughts and understanding and his control, and everything in the world being in his hands and under his control. It's just going to become an experiential process for us where we can experience God's steadfastness and God's might and God's wisdom as we continue to hear from the Lord. So Job 39, let's continue on with the Lord speaking to Job in the storm. Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch when the doe bears her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? They crouch down and bring forth their young. Their labor pains are ended. Their young thrive and grow strong in the wilds. They leave and do not return. Who let the wild donkey go free? Who untied its ropes? I gave it the wasteland as its home, and the salt flats as its habitat. It laughs at the commotion in town. It does not hear a driver's shout. It ranges the hills for its pasture and searches for anything green. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? Will it stay by your manger at night? Can you hold it to the furrow with a harness? Will it till the valleys behind you? Will you rely on it for its great strength? Will you leave your heavy work to it? Can you trust it to haul in your grain and bring it to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully, though they cannot compare with the wings and features of the stork. She lays her eggs on the ground and lets them warm in the sand, unmindful that a foot may crush them, that some wild animal may trample them. She treats her young so harshly, as if they were not hers. She cares not about she cares not that her labor was in vain, for God did not endow her with wisdom or give her a share of good sense. Yet, when she spreads her feathers to run, she laughs at horse and rider. Do you give the horse its strength, or clothe its neck with a flowing mane? Do you make it leap like a locust, striking terror with its proud snorting? It paws fiercely, rejoicing in its strength, and charges into the fray. It laughs at fear, afraid of nothing. It does not shy away from the sword. The quiver rattles against its side, along with the flashing spear and lance. In frenzied excitement, it eats up the ground. It cannot stand still when the trumpet sounds. At the blast of the trumpet, it snorts. Aha! It catches the scent of battle from afar, the shout of commanders and the battle cry. Does the hawk take flight by your wisdom and spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? It dwells on a cliff and stays there at night. A rocky crag is its stronghold. From there it looks for food. Its eyes detect it from far away. Its young ones feast on blood. And where the slain are, there it is. So this continuation of the Lord speaking here, again, keeps us right in the same vein that we were in Job 38, but it kind of stretches a little bit. God kind of says, there is some human wisdom. There is some understanding that you have. But when you compare it to my wisdom, when you compare it to my understanding and all of the things I'm taking care of, it doesn't match up, right? Like God says to Job, look at the donkey, look at the ox. Are you going to tame them? Are you going to control them? And the answer to that is actually, in some respects, yes. Humanity at this point in time has been using ox to plow their fields, has been using donkeys for work animals. God talks about the horse and its lack of fear and its bravery and its willingness to charge into battle, and how powerful and mighty it is, and how it can take up the ground, right? And it runs to the battle. And all of those things are ways that humans have used horses, right? Yet God also goes on to talk about the ostrich bearing its young and how powerful it is, and yet it doesn't have the sense to take care of its eggs or to watch over its young. It just lays its eggs and moves on with its life, right? Allowing the sand and the sun to warm the eggs. And then we hear about the eagle who nests up in the crag of the rock as its stronghold. And so God is saying to Job, you have some understandings and you've made some uses of some of this stuff, but really, humanity, you're a lot more like the ostrich, right? You have power, you have some understanding, you can run like the ostrich can run metaphorically, yet it doesn't have the good sense to care for its young. And so there's this element in there where it's like, we have some knowledge, but it's not enough knowledge. We have some understanding, but it's not God's level of understanding. We have some control over what's happening around us, but we don't have the level of control that God has. And so we have to continue to say, okay, the things that I can keep within my hands, that God has given me, that God has entrusted to me, the wisdom he's entrusted me with, I do need to use. I do need to use that understanding. Yet I have to remember there's not so much understanding that I'm equal to God, or that I have as much understanding as God, or that I can manipulate or control the world in the way that God does and can, in order to bring about his path and his direction and his way forward for the universe, for the world, right? And so we're hearing again from God. We're hearing with Job, these bricks are being stacked on. We're experiencing the weight of this, the weight of God's glory, the weight of his wisdom, the weight of his ways. And it's becoming experiential for us. And then we get to compare ourselves a little bit and say, okay, we do have some understanding. We're not total animals. We're not totally separate from the image of God. We have some ability to comprehend and some wisdom, but it's not enough for us to elevate ourselves to the place of God. It's almost as if God is saying, you have this much, and I have oceans upon oceans upon oceans of understanding. So trust my wisdom, trust my leadership, and maintain the integrity that you can within the spaces that you can, with the understanding that you have, with the knowledge that you do have. And so we're continuing to experience these bricks, this weight of God's wisdom and ways being laid on us, and yet also being told there is some understanding that you have, but it doesn't compare, and it doesn't put you in a space where you can become my judge or evaluate me or evaluate my justice or the way I choose to go about doing and bringing about the future that I am bringing about, right? That I'm working towards, that I'm sculpting and molding. And so the continued answer from the Lord here is trust me over yourself and don't elevate yourself to a place where you judge my wisdom or my justice, right? So don't judge the Lord. Don't elevate yourself to the place of God, and instead trust him. Put all of your faith in him and allow him to lead and guide. God bless you, Wellspring. Have a great day.